Goodland, Colby, and NWKS radio station.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason. With Election Day looming, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris focusing on undecided voters. At an Atlanta rally, Mr. Trump said the Biden-Harris team has brought the world to the brink of another global conflict. Harris made several campaign stops in Michigan yesterday, referring to a college degree, saying that, quote, that's not the only qualification for a qualified worker. The Israeli parliament has passed a series of bills blocking the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees from operating in Israel and the Palestinian territories. After serving 4 months in prison for contempt of Congress, Trump ally Steve Bannon is a free man. He was released from prison this morning. Bannon defied a congressional January 6th subpoena. On Wall Street, the Dow futures down 149 points. NASDAQ futures are off 7 points. More details at srnnews.com.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining MediShare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people, obviously. But what's more, MediShare members like it a lot. Their satisfaction rate is 98%. Imagine that. And MediShare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of hundreds of thousands of people now. And here's the thing. If you join before October 30th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee. So you save even more right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is October 30th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number, 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE, 844-45-BIBLE.
Rocket 102.5.
With your updated forecast, I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Weatherology Weather Center. A freeze watch begins at 1 a.m. Thursday morning. A red flag warning begins at 1 p.m. this afternoon. High temperatures reach up to 83 today under partly cloudy skies, southwest winds 15 to 20 miles per hour. Partly cloudy tonight, slight chance for showers 38. Slight chance for showers tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 50, sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Ample sunshine and dry Thursday and Friday, upper 50s Thursday, upper 60s by Friday. Looking at the long range, 68 Saturday, 62 Sunday, and 59 on Monday. Get up to the minute weather updates from the Weatherology Weather Center. I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley on this NWKS radio station. Currently, it's 41 degrees.
Good morning, Doctor. Doctor? Hi, Doctor. Doctor?
Dr. Jackson's practice is growing.
What do you mean we're still short-staffed?
He needs a good patient doctor.
How do we not have enough doctors to doctor all these patients?
And he doesn't have the patience to sift through hundreds of resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Wouldn't you like to stop feeling self-conscious about your receding hairline or thinning hair? Millions of men and women around the world trust Hair Grow from New Nordic as an effective way to get thicker-looking hair. Ask for Hair Grow at your local Walgreens or shop online at Amazon.com or NewNordicUSA.com.
Purchase new wiper blades from O'Reilly Auto Parts today and we'll install them for free. See better and drive safer with O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Get ready for the most electrifying football action of the season right here on Rocket 102.5. Cheer on your Denver Broncos with every thrilling play, every game-winning drive, and every heart-pounding moment. Don't miss a second of action. Tune in all season long to Rocket 102.5. Broncos football, powered by FMB Bank, Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Colby Ag Center, Tubbs & Sons Ford Sales, Hoxie Feed Yard Imperial Beef, Next Tech Wireless, Burlington Ford, Zimmelman's Jewelry, and Vince's GM.
The one hail of a sale continues at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get huge savings on not just lightly hailed on vehicles, but also ones that don't have hail or have had the hail fixed. How about a 2024 GMC Sierra 1500 SLE with hail up to $13,000 off when trading in an eligible vehicle, now only $49,000. A 24 Chevy Tahoe RST with hail up to $14,000 off, now just $58,000. It's one hail of a sale, and it continues at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, online at hurlchev.com.
Even though your attention has turned back to school with events and activities, you just can't forget everything going on at home. That's where your local Hoover Lumber Ace hardware stores in Goodland and Colby come in. Keep the lawn in check with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. They are still your local Benjamin Moore paint retailer, and they still have that amazing selection of outdoor grills and griddles from Traeger, Weber.
Unbeatable convenience. Swing by the Cowboy Corner Express every Thursday. Enjoy their famous barbecue beef sandwiches, hot and fresh. Need to feed a crowd? Their sandwich and wrap trays are perfect for any occasion. Start your day with some delicious daylight donuts. And don't forget, students and school employees get 10% off every day, excluding gas, alcohol, and cigarettes. The Cowboy Corner Express, located on South Main in Goodland.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery ingestion and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
The Farmers State Bank of Oakley has been financing agriculture since the day we opened our doors. Hello, this is Corbin, and we are proud to be your locally owned partner in ag. We invite you to come and visit with us when you need to purchase new or used farm equipment, or need any type of agriculture or business loan. We have the knowledge, experience, and financial resources to keep you growing. The Farmers State Bank of Oakley, a tradition of community and agriculture for over 115 years. Member FDIC.
You ready?
It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
If you want to win in football, it all starts up front. Mass kicks ass.
The region's only local sports talk.
Listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about.
Broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, simulcasting on Goodland's 730 Gold KLOE.
Guy is everywhere.
Discussing it all from the preps.
Showtime for the Lady Eagles.
To the pros.
McKinnon is in at running back. First down and goal to go. Play action fake. Right side throw. Touchdown! Kansas City!
The Blitz is presented by Hurl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, as well as the Insurance Agency, Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
It is a fastball. It's ripped down the line. It is gone. A fifth consecutive World Series game with a Freddie Freeman home run. And the Dodgers are on the board first in game 3.
Shotgun snap, handoff Tracy 40. Over the left tackle to 30. Foot race to 20. Far sideline 10. He's grabbed at the 5. Did he get in? Touchdown! The Giants rookie running back racing downfield 45 yards for a New York touchdown.
Hooks it in the left field. That's down for a base hit. Here comes Stanton. Here comes Hernandez's throw. It is in time. Perfectly thrown.
Austin's got it, runs from the near side of the field to the far, breaking the tackle 30, far sideline 40, far sideline 50, flag is down, he's on the 40, got a block 30, far sideline 20, 10, chase to the 5, touchdown on a punt return for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And good Tuesday morning. It is the Morning Blitz on Rocket 102.5, 730 Gold KLOE. Glad you're with us here on this October the 29th. Gosh, just 2 days left in the month of October. It's hard to believe that the month of October and pretty much the fall sports season here in the state of Kansas pretty much gets wrapped up, it feels like, in the month of October with, of course, state cross country and state volleyball all taking place this week. But 50 degrees outside to get our Tuesday rolling, and a very yucky day expected ahead. Temperatures are going to be warm and around the 80s, but expect a lot of wind, expect a lot of leaves, expect a lot of dirt flying around the place as well. So very windy. And then we're going to see a chill down tomorrow and Thursday. And I sure hope Max's warm clothes have gotten in the mail. I sure hope for that.
Got a little bit.
Little bit?
Yeah.
Not yet?
We got more to go. There's more to go. We've got more ground to cover as far as the winter clothing. I still need a jacket. Let me know. Text the text line if anyone knows where to get a good jacket down here.
Just a light jacket, or are you talking a winter coat? What are you talking here?
A winter coat. Let's go with a winter coat.
Someone needs to take Max out to Silverthorne or not even Silverthorne, over there in Colorado Springs, to the outlets to let him get some winter clothes.
That is a good idea.
It's going to get rather cold. And you could go to the outlets over in just north of Colorado Springs. You should just go there and just take care of that and get that all done. There you'll find some nice coats and get yourself nice and warmed up for the cold temperatures that are, because right now it's 50 degrees. It's only going to be 10 degrees warmer all day tomorrow, I think, is the plan at this point in time.
It's not bad out right now. I can deal with this.
No, this is fine. It's going to be when the wind picks up and it's that degrees. That's when it's going to be like, yeah, this is cold. That's what the problem is going to be.
That's when the light jog to the building for my car comes out.
Yeah, the what would that be? The 10-yard jog?
Yes, correct. It's called the Major League Trot. Is what that's
trot.
Called. It's the bullpen to the mound kind of speed.
Okay, well that ain't very fast for some people. For some people, that's a sprint.
That's true.
For some people, that is a sprint. But
true.
Anyway, glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz. We will get into plenty of stuff today. We will be visiting with if you've ever watched the Royals, which out here sometimes can be a challenge because once again we get all the games blacked out. But if you ever watch the Royals, their sideline reporter and also pre and post game show host Joel Goldberg is going to join the show today to talk a little bit about the World Series, to also talk about the Royals and the fantastic season that was for Kansas City. So Joel Goldberg will be joining us coming up here in about 20 minutes, give or take, here on the Morning Blitz. We will also be diving into some high school football playoffs. Yesterday we kind of had to, usually Mondays are kind of crazy days. So we're trying to jam pack a lot of stuff into the weekend. We hit the highlights. So today I want to go back and kind of skim through the playoff brackets in particular and kind of give people an idea of what to expect for regional teams. And just some thoughts on the high school football playoff brackets and thoughts going into that. So we will do that coming up here in just a matter of moments. But boy, I'll tell you what, it's down to the last game of the World Series. It might just be over in 4. The Dodgers win 4-2, and honestly, it was 4-0 until the 9th when they gave up a couple of measly runs to the Yankees, which who knows? Maybe that's what New York needs, is just some sort of offensive spark, even if it was in garbage time of a game, to help get that offense going, because they have had no life whatsoever, have the Yankees offense, as the Dodgers win 4-2 last night, and they are now one game away from a sweep and a World Series title.
Yeah, the Verdugo home run. Ross, do you know about the Chris Paul joke, which goes into these home runs late in games where they don't matter, or points late in the game? Do you know this joke?
Tell me, it's not firing, but tell me.
Kind of lingo, but people say, "Oh, it's a Chris Paul." There's a video that went viral of the NBA posting on YouTube. Chris Paul. The title was "Chris Paul hits a huge 3 to cut the lead to 42." And now every time that someone hits a home run or something late in a game that's good, but it doesn't matter because the game's already over, people say, "Oh, Chris Paul 3, whatever." So that's what Purdue did last night. Anyway, I just thought I would.
Well, I mean, yes, I get that. But, honestly, just to see any sort of offensive run scored for the Yankees is honestly maybe a step in the right direction for them, because they've had no luck. I mean, I know that I talked about the Dodgers before this World Series started. I didn't know if I trusted their pitching, but I tell you, they've had a real blessing to get Walker Buehler, who I think is a stud. He was a stud at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
He was so good to get him back after what's been a long recovery from him off Tommy John surgery. He goes 5 innings, gives up just a couple of hits, couple of walks, and 5 strikeouts. He was great. But the Dodgers just roll. I mean, Freddie Freeman is absolutely white hot. As you heard in the highlight call there from Joe Davis, 5 consecutive World Series games for Freddie Freeman with a home run. The stage, he is the brightest when the stage is the biggest. And he's been huge. 15 pitches into that game last night, gone. Right there. Look at, he's probably thinking this like everybody else is. I'm a left-handed hitter, and I've got one of the shortest porches in all of baseball. Might as well just stick the bat out there and put her out there. And boy, he did it. And then on the flip side, the Yankees have no offensive their star players, as big as they were hitting the ball against Cleveland and all that, it's completely dropped off. Giancarlo Stanton and of course Aaron Judge, 1 for 12. I mean, not good in any way, shape, or form.
Here's something good, Royals fans. Maikel Garcia and Michael Massey still have more hits this playoff run than Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge with a measly 6, Garcia and Massey with 7 individually. So there you go. Judge is really stinking it up in the playoffs. Stanton, when Stanton runs, Ross, it reminds me. So this before I moved down here, I was filling in and I was playing on my dad's senior baseball team. And Stanton, when you watch these kind of guys in their 40s and 50s run around the base paths, no offense, it hurts my body to watch. I get a reaction from them. My hamstring starts to hurt, my ankle, my calves. That's what I get from Stan. It physically hurts to watch him run the bases, and it's boy, I don't know how much he's got left in him. He hits the crap out of the ball, but man, he cannot get around those bases. And that's what we saw once again last night with him getting thrown out at the plate.
To me, the more fascinating thing is your dad plays in a senior baseball league out of that whole story.
Dude, he catches too. And he he caught in high school. He still got it. He still got it.
His hamstrings are probably in great shape if he's catching.
Well, he has, Ross, you'll learn the Gershon build is short, but calves like this big. It's this big. You can't see it if you're listening on the radio, but
yeah, get on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC videos and look how big these calves are. They're
big
huge.
Old calves. So he's got the catcher's build. And I tell you what, it's hard to shout out to people that play senior baseball, because for me, it is hard to hit 40-mile-per-hour baseballs, because it's not slow pitch softball, but it's baseballs coming in at the slowest
40 mile per hour. Oh, that's
ever.
That's tough.
It's an adjustment.
That would be hard. That would be very hard. Yes, that would be very difficult. Jeez. Yeah, I have a hard time with slow pitch softball, so I can't even imagine trying to hit 40-mile-an-hour fastball. So anyway, no, that's great. That's a great story. Talking about your dad's calves. I like that. That's good. That's good stuff. But you're right. He runs like he's got a cob up as does Giancarlo Stanton a little bit. And yeah, it's not looking good for the Yankees. You know who else it doesn't look good for? It does not look good for the New York Giants, and hasn't for a long time. Did you see this stat again? You know what what Daniel Jones's record is in prime time?
Not good.
1-15 in his career in prime time games. So anytime the world gets to watch Daniel Jones play quarterback for the New York Football Giants, they've only seen him win once. I mean, that is rough. Last night, very good showing from the Steelers, 26-18. A lot of people thought Russell Wilson was done, but he's doing exactly what the Steelers need. 20 of 28, 278, and a touchdown. And boy, did he throw a dime last night along the sideline. It was perfectly thrown. And the Steelers look good. They got that elite defense. That was great. But I had to throw that stat out there about Daniel Jones. 1-15 in prime time games. I mean, he has no guaranteed money left on his deal after this year. He's done. Daniel Jones is done.
He's got to be. They got to look in the draft at a quarterback. I know. They've that receiving core really isn't bad. I know their offensive line is arguably one of the worst offensive lines I've ever watched with my own two eyes. But I will say that he's got a lot of opportunities. He's failed on almost every one of them. But this is what I was going to say. Their rookie running back, Tracy.
From Purdue. He looks good. That was a 5th-round pickup. He looked good last night. He did look very good. He looked good. Malik Neighbors, I think, is a star, but he had some drops last night that I thought were kind of uncharacteristic. Ones that hit him right in the numbers. So
he's getting frustrated. You can tell he's getting frustrated, and it's obvious but he's a Giant, so he's gonna have to
frustration.
He's gonna have to fight.
You are a New York athlete, and so there is plenty of frustration to go around. Yankees. Doesn't matter. Jets doesn't matter. Yeah, there's plenty of frustrations to go around last night. But anyway, Steelers win 26-18 and Dodgers win 4-2 last night in the world of sports.
Yeah, who would have thought that the Mets would have made New York sports fans the happiest this year?
Yeah, that's a track.
You asked me that 6 months ago, I would have thought you were crazy. But
no, my favorite thing was when they started off 0-5 and to see about 20 people in the stands for Game 6, the world of the season. That was a great photo.
That's true.
And then to see it packed up and all packed when they got to the postseason. So
they always come back.
Anyway, let's move on here. The high school football playoffs will get going here starting on Thursday for small schools and then on Friday for some of the bigger schools, depending on where you are. And I wanted to kind of dive into some of what the brackets look like and kind of just go over that a little bit because we talked about it. Majority of the teams have made the postseason. That's kind of the amazing thing when you get into the smaller classifications. You have teams with maybe just one win, but they make the postseason because they beat out a team that they don't have enough numbers, team numbers. I'm not talking like numbers of players on a team, but the number of teams sometimes to fill that entire bracket, and so everybody gets in, even if it's just a one-win team in some of the smaller classifications. Not the case in others. I want to start first and foremost in 3A because I thought it was interesting. We mentioned it yesterday on the show, but Hugoton beat Goodland. Hugoton acting like they were going to make the playoffs. They had the better overall record. They had the same district record as Colby, but because Colby won the head-to-head, Colby got into the postseason despite having a worse record overall. It really put that tiebreaker scenario thing to work, and Hugoton ends up staying home while Colby gets into the postseason. And I know I was visiting with a couple of Colby fans. They're just kind of like, did not see that coming. And honestly, they're kind of like, I don't even know if we're super excited about going to Collegiate because Collegiate's really good. And so that's kind of the tough part there for Colby, looking at their side of the things. And from the Goodland perspective, you lose. And I think, when going into that game for Goodland, if you visited with coaches, if you visited with other people, even if you visit with other people from around the region and, not even talking about Goodland in particular, but just about the postseason, they were talking like, boy, if you're going to get a draw, I think you want to draw Heston if you can. That's what people were saying. And that's no offense to Heston. I've never seen Heston play. I'm sure they're still a good football team. But in comparison to your Andales, your Collegiates, your Cheneys, they're not the same on that same level. And that was proven last week, by the way, as Heston got railroaded by Andale in their regular season finale. So Goodland loses that game and still gets Heston in the first round, which is a heck of a draw. And honestly, if you look at the side of the bracket that has 3 GWAC teams, Goodland, Scott City, and Holcomb, with Rock Creek, Smoky Valley, Marysville, Clearwater, and Heston, that is an open side of the bracket. That is a very open side of that 3A football bracket. In comparison to the other side, where you have Andale, Collegiate, Cheney, and Wichita Trinity. Those 4 teams, I believe, are all ranked in the top 5, and they're all on the same side of the bracket. That means that only one team is going to make it to even just the semifinals out of that group. That's nuts to think about. Crazy to me. That was one thing that stood out to me about looking at that bracket was how many good teams are on one side of the Western bracket and how many of the other teams are not. Not that they're bad. Those are all, Rock Creek's a good team. Heston's still a good team. Scott City's a good team. Holcomb's a good team. They're all good teams. But in comparison to Andale, Cheney, Trinity, and Collegiate, whoa, that's nuts. And I thought when Keisha did this, they were trying to prevent from, having all the same, trying to give everybody a fair shake. And I'm not saying they're not, but yikes. That one side of the bracket is crazy nuts. What were some of the thoughts that you had after that game was over against Scott City?
Well, I was kind of saying, if anyone was listening, especially to the post game, I was kind of waiting for updates, trying to play it out and see what would happen. And then I went off air. We went off a little short because Coach Mosier was walking with a player on senior night, so he wasn't able to come up and do the interview. But shortly after I went off the air, Adam Kadavy, who's the voice of the Beavers in Scott City, was like, wow, Goodland just lost, eliminating Colby from the playoffs. So I was like, well, he said it, so must be like. I was like, it's okay, there we go, it's over. Colby's out of the playoffs, and that's what I did believe at the time. But I did know that there were some points. I know they beat Huey. I think that Hueyton had to win by more. I don't know.
Really, if you look at the points, there was Colby had less, or the points were in favor of Hugoton. Is my point, at least according to Keisha.
Yeah, I don't know,
but I'm once again, I'm going back. The head-to-head weighs more than the points. Who won the head-to-head game? Colby did.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why we kind of looked past that when a lot of people were thinking that it was going to have to do with the points. But regardless, I just kind of accepted it for the night and looked Saturday morning, and it was Wichita. And that's actually, Coach Mosier's been preparing for Wichita for 2 weeks since we really started talking about actually even maybe before that, when I first brought up playoffs, he kind of was like, it's looking like we're going to go to Wichita. So he's been ready for it. And I asked him, I said, would you rather go to Scott City again, or would you rather go to Wichita? And he said Wichita because he likes the challenge, and it's good to get the guys out of the area and get to experience, because it's a nice facility out in Wichita. So that was kind of his motto of why he'd rather go there. So
it's also good to get away from teams that and that you really haven't had a lot of success against.
Yeah.
It's good to go play against some team. Yeah, they may be good, but we don't know. We've never played them, so we don't know what to expect. Maybe we get there and all of a sudden we're like, you know what, these guys aren't as great as we thought they were. We're just as good as them. We can hang with these guys. You just don't know because you don't know. I know from the perspective of Goodland, that's the thought. They haven't played Heston. They don't know what Heston's like. They have no idea. So just go out there, put the football out there, and let's play. They have no idea. It's not like as if, you've lost so many consecutive games to Scott City. You've lost so many consecutive games to Holcomb. You've lost so many consecutive games to whatever. Doesn't matter. This is the first time you probably ever played Heston, or maybe the second time in your program's history you've ever played Heston, or in your case, Wichita Collegiate. Doesn't matter. Get out, go play somebody different, and just see where the chips fall.
Yeah, and for Colby, the pressure's really not there at this point. They've lost 4 straight. They just need to go out and play their brand of football, which we saw in the first half of that Scott City game. So they can compete with some of the top schools in this 3A state. It's just going to be about, third quarters have really killed the Eagles since going back to that first loss of the streak. And also the thing that's killed the Eagles is top 25 tight ends in the state. We saw that last week with Scott City's tight end and Rumford. We saw that with Lincoln Cure, which I know we'll get to a little bit later, his updated rankings. But, looking at it, there's not anyone from Wichita, so that's a plus. You're not going to face another 6'6" tight end, which is really hurt Colby. But I do know that they are a very good football team, and it's going to be a very uphill battle for Colby. But you know what? When they're playing their best, they've got some guys too, especially like Guy Tubbs, who I just saw in the rankings as well. But again, we'll get to that later. But yeah, it's going to be fun. And I think that they are excited for the challenge is the vibe I've gotten.
I love this text message on the FB Bank text line, 785-899-2222. The one thing Colby has to look forward to is they'll see the nicest locker room they've ever seen.
Probably true. It's
probably true. Looking at some other, so once again, you've got Colby going to Collegiate on Friday, Goodland going to Heston on Friday, and of course coverage on 100 Points for the Ride and right here on Rocket 102.5. Some other area teams that are in the postseason: Oakley, after they beat Stanton County, Brand, they go to Valley Heights. They have the longest road trip, I think, of any team from our listening region. They got to go all the way to north of Manhattan or south of Marysville. They have a long road trip ahead to the Oakley Plainsmen to go play at Valley Heights at Blue Rapids. If they were to win that game, they would have to face the winner of Sterling and Hayes TMP in the next round. As we push forward here in 8-man D1, which is where you see some very interesting teams, including Hoxie, who is considered the favorite, I would say, out of this, especially out of the West, and maybe even in all of 8-man D1. They've just steamrolled everybody they've played. They get Lacrosse in the first round here coming up on Thursday, and then they'll play the winner of Oxford Kinsley in that. You go to the opposite side of that bracket, you've got the team that has been in Hoxie's way the last couple of years. That's Wichita County. They get Josiah Pattengall and the Red Devils of Decatur Community in the first round, and we'll see if they can find a way to get some success against that. And then Rawlins County is on the top end of the West bracket. They will be hosting Ellis in the first round on Thursday, and should they win that game, they would get one of the best teams in the state, probably in South Central. And I don't know if they'd have to go all the way down south to Coldwater, but that's a long trip too, if they have to go down to there. So that's what's in the 8-man Division 1 bracket. 8-man Division 2, this is where you get into some interesting stuff because some teams really didn't have great seasons, but still made the postseason. So Dighton will get Deerfield, for example, in the first round. Wheatland Grinnell has one win on the year. They will go to Buckland. They will go to Buckland in the first round. Wallace County's had around a 500 year. They go to Mineola in the first round. And that's about it for 8-man Division 2. Not a lot of regional teams had a lot of success. Like I said, Wheatland Grinnell had just one win and made it into the postseason. That's kind of the year that was in kind of that 8-man Division 2 district. And then in 6-man, this is where things get interesting when you look at the 6-man bracket, because if you're a good team, you get a first round bye. You don't play this week. You have to wait until the following week. So Golden Plains gets a first round bye. They'll wait till the 8th to play the winner of Pawnee Heights and Western Plains Healy. Weskin gets a bye this weekend. They will wait to play the winner of Moscow and Tri-Plains Brewster, which will be played in Moscow. Shiloh gets a bye, as does their opponent Ingalls, one of the best running backs of 6-man they'll have to face off against. Once again, that's coming up on November 8th is when all those games will take place. So really only one team, well, you want to call Western Plains Healy on a stretch, but Tri-Plains Brewster pretty much the only team from our region that'll play this upcoming weekend in 6-man. Otherwise, they got to wait for a bye to play the following weekend in 6-man. So there you go. Kind of look at the bracket for those who didn't go pick it up, or maybe you're curious like what's all going to happen, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. By the way, we didn't mention this. I'll go back to 3A real quickly in case people haven't looked at this. But if Colby were to pull the upset of Wichita Collegiate, they would then face the winner of Cheney Wichita Trinity. It just is a bear of a schedule on that. I mean, I'm telling you, that side of the bracket is an absolute monster. And if Goodland were to pull the upset of Heston, they would probably get Scott City again. They would get Scott City. And right now, there's probably not a happier team in all of 3A football than Scott City. Because they're looking at their bracket like, you know what? We've got a path. We've got a path to the finals. We have a path. Rock Creek will be hard. Holcomb will be hard in a rivalry game. That's always difficult. And Heston, who knows if they get past Goodland, I don't know. I don't know what to expect of Heston just from what I've heard from other people. But there's a path, if you are like Scott City, for example, to possibly make it to the finals. We will see. But anyway, some very interesting stuff. You can go check out all the brackets. You can find them on kpreps.com is where I like to pull the brackets up. They have good information there and find those brackets and see where everything goes. But once again, we'll have coverage of Goodland and Colby football on our radio stations of 100.3 The Ride and Rocket 102.5. That's coming up on Friday. All right, we're right at the bottom of the hour, 7:32 Mountain, 8:32 Central Time. We're going to take a break. Come back. We're going to talk baseball with Joel Goldberg. That's right. He's on the Royals broadcast. They're not even going to be on Bally anymore, I don't think. Or are they going to stick to Bally?
FanDuel Sports now.
FanDuel Sports now. Okay.
That's what it is.
Interesting. So anyway, Joel Goldberg of FanDuel Sports, but really just pre and post game and sideline reporter for the Royals.
Baseball.
Royals baseball. Yes. He'll join us next here on the Morning Blitz on a Tuesday.
The one hail of a sale continues at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get huge savings on not just lightly hailed on vehicles, but also ones that don't have hail or have had the hail fixed. For example, a 24 GMC Sierra 1500 Denali with no hail up to $7,000 off when you're a loyal Buick or GMC owner, now just over $68K. A 24 Chevy Tahoe RST with hail up to $14,000 off, now just $58K. It's one hail of a sale, and it continues at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, online at hurlchev.com.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning, this is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is Tuesday, October 29th. And on the overnight, last night, December corn higher a half cent, $4.11 1/4. March up a half, $4.25 1/4. May unchanged at $4.33 1/4. July up a quarter at $4.38. November soybeans up 1 3/4 on the overnights at $9.75 3/4. January up 1 1/4 at $9.87 1/4. March up 1 1/2 at $9.99 3/4. May up 1 3/4 at $10.15 1/4. Chicago wheat, the December contract higher 4 on the overnights at $5.63. March up 4 cents at $5.83 1/2. May up 4 1/4 at $5.95 1/4. And July soft wheat up 3 1/2 at $6.01 3/4. Kansas City wheat, the December contract higher 4 3/4 on the overnights at $5.66 1/4. March up 4 at $5.79 1/2. May up 4 1/2 $5.89 3/4. And July hard wheat up 4 1/2 $5.98. On the stock market this morning, the Dow down 189 at 42,422. The S&P down 10 at 5,851. The Nasdaq down 2 at 20,494. Crude oil up 75 cents a barrel at 68.13, and gold higher $7.60 an ounce at 2,763. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call. John Hankey or John Stiles at 4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Saludo, Jared Law, or Tyler Dosh at 913-748.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
Now's the time to get right with Pivot Bio Nitrogen. The right source at the right rate at the right time in the right place. Sounds good, right? And now is the right time to act. With zero payments, zero interest, and zero worry. Until December 1st, 2025 on the best source of nitrogen. Get right with Pivot Bio. For more information, visit pivotsprovenit.com. That's pivotsprovenit.com.
At Hogemeyer, we're raising the bar on yield performance, bringing world-class traits and genetics to these local fields with the exceptional corn rootworm control and proven powerful yields of new Vorceed-enlist corn. The unsurpassed flexibility and protection against above-ground pests with PowerCore enlist corn, and other next-gen corn hybrids built to perform and boost your yields. It's time to raise a better crop. View Hogemeyer products at therightseed.com.
Even though your attention has turned back to school with events and activities, you just can't forget everything going on at home. That's where your local Hoover Lumber Ace hardware stores in Goodland and Colby come in. Keep the lawn in check with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. They are still your local Benjamin Moore paint retailer, and they still have that amazing selection of outdoor grills and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Plus, their helpful and knowledgeable staffs are some of the best in the Northwest. It's all at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
Med Enterprises, LLC, your fire extinguisher sales and service folk. We're talking Scott and Tanya Jarrett, the owners, specializing in commercial agribusiness portable fire extinguisher service and repairs. And they service most makes and models of extinguishers, and they can perform most repairs and services on site, and they carry new extinguishers for sale too. Call Med Enterprises 785-899-6320 for all your commercial, ag, farm, and home annual certifications, repairs, and maintenance.
October is National Cooperative Month. Midwest Energy is a customer-owned cooperative, meaning everyone who takes service is a part owner. You vote to choose your board of directors, and you share in the economic success of the co-op. Like all co-ops, Midwest Energy promotes growth in our communities through employee involvement, by supporting schools, and through the Midwest Community Fund. Midwest Energy, a customer-owned cooperative, making energy work for you.
Are you ready to add a touch of sparkle to your life? Look no further than Zimbelman's Jewelry, your local hometown store. At Zimbelman's Jewelry, we believe that every piece of jewelry tells a unique story, and we're here to help you find the perfect one to cherish forever. From stunning engagement rings that symbolize eternal love to exquisite necklaces that complement your style, we have a dazzling collection to suit every taste and budget. So come visit us at Zimbelman's Jewelry in downtown Burlington today and discover the magic of jewelry that celebrates life's precious moments.
It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Hey everyone, come and see how good I look.
Your daily dose of sports.
Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, here we go. Feel it in my soul. Really need it so good.
Cruising along on a Tuesday morning here on the Morning Blitz. Ross Volkmer, Max Gershon with you here. Get into some tight end talk coming up at the final segment of the show. Some interesting news coming down about some local athletes. We'll get to that coming up here in the back end of this program. But let's talk a little baseball. We're pleased to be joined by Royals sideline and also pre- and post-game host. He also has his own podcast. Joel Goldberg joins us down in the morning. That's good morning, Joel. How are you doing today?
Ross, Max, how you guys doing?
We're doing very good. What are you up to these days? What are you doing? Are you watching the playoffs? I'm sure you're watching the playoffs. What are you doing when you're not working and stuff like that, doing Royals baseball?
Yeah, it's hard. It's at least for me. I think we're all different. Some guys probably aren't watching a lick of it, whether that be broadcasters or players. Some of the rest of us are watching every minute of it, which I am. I love that. Watch a little football on the side as well. But between the podcast, I do a lot of corporate speaking around the country. Was all over the place last week. So there's some days where I'm hanging out, other days I'm busy. It's a different pace than baseball though, because you can have some days where you're doing nothing. So it's a good break. And then before you know it, the end of the baseball season could come as early as tonight. So we'll be talking off season.
Boy, what are your thoughts on this World Series to this point in time, Joel?
If I had to predict, and I actually predicted the Yankees, I'm not afraid to say that I went with that pick, and it's a reminder of how quickly things can change, how quickly a team can cool off, how quickly pitching can get hot, or streaks and slumps like Aaron Judge could be magnified. So if I had to make a pick before the series started, I think for me the biggest challenge was figuring out who was going to win and was it going to be in 6 or 7 games. To think that this thing could be over in 4 is shocking to me. And I don't really think that there's a lot of difference in these teams. I think that we often say, my broadcast partner says many times throughout the year, it's not who you play, it's when you play them. And it might just be a case of the Dodgers being hot right now and the Yankees cooling off, but they'll feel all the pressure tonight. This has been one of the best playoffs, I think, in quite a while. So many riveting games. You go back to Pete Alonso's big homer and Freddie Freeman's big homer, and it felt like Game 1 of the World Series, the way Freddie homered, a la Kirk Gibson, that we were in store for just a very dramatic series. And I don't think anybody thought that it would be a dud like this. I shouldn't say it's been a dud. It's only been a dud in the standpoint of it being 3-0. I think the games have been very entertaining. I think they've been nail-biting games, but the Dodgers have just been better.
Joel, we were talking about Aaron Judge's struggles in the playoffs. What specifically did you see from the Royals pitching that they were able to limit? Because we've seen kind of the similar things throughout all these series against the Yankees, but what did the Royals pitching do game plan-wise against Aaron Judge?
Well, I think he's a different hitter than he was when the regular season ended. There were stretches for the most part during the year where you better not throw him a strike. And the challenge with Judge is that he doesn't chase balls, which is very much like the Yankees and the Dodgers for that matter. I think that's why these teams are always so good, along with the obvious of the amount of money that they spend. But they spend their money on guys that for the most part will not be free swingers. And yes, Aaron Judge strikes out a lot, but he's also going to take a walk. And so you really have to navigate that carefully. Right now, it feels to me what the Royals did and what Cleveland did and what the Dodgers are doing is until he stops chasing, make him chase. And really, to me, the guy that's been more dangerous has been Giancarlo Stanton. So, I think it changes the focus a little bit. One of the biggest challenges in facing the Yankees is that you got to go Soto, Judge, Stanton, and you really can't make mistakes against them. Soto will not swing at a ball. That's almost every single time. His discipline's as good as anybody's in the game. And then Judge, yes, you can get him to chase, but when he's locked in, the margin for error is slim, and same for Stanton. And so I feel like, to me, he's just in one of those ruts that if the season went another week, another 2 weeks, another month, it wouldn't be a month. When we were there in New York in September, I think it was.
Yeah.
We were there in September, September 9th, 10th, and 11th. We were there for September 11th. He had, I think the last game we were there, tied a career mark for most games without a home run. And then I think the next game he snapped out of it. Like, good guys like Judge typically aren't going to be down for very long. You could say the same thing, by the way, about Bobby Witt Jr., who appeared to have his own slump in the playoffs. Guys like that just don't slump for very long, and there's only a handful of them that are like that. But the problem on Judge's situation is he's running out of time.
Yeah, and the other story that kind of came out of New York last night, what had to do with the Royals, is Salvi winning the Roberto Clemente Award. And, I've seen for most of my life now, and everyone in Kansas City has seen, the great dynamic that you and Salvi have had over the years, in the post game and with the Gatorade showers after. But just how much fun is it to work around, a character like Salvi?
Yeah, I think what I would say, Max, is that what everyone sees is exactly what it is, and maybe even a little bit better. There's some guys that just know how to perform. There's some guys that when the cameras go on or certain people talk to them are going to be a certain way. And that's fine. That's life. That's people. That's not just sports. But what you see is what you get. I'll tell you what, though. There's a switch. He might be the nicest guy and the most fun guy ever, and all that is absolutely true. However, there are moments where, he can get locked in and they say he works harder than anybody. He cares as much as anybody, but he always has that big smile on his face. I saw him walking out of the dugout before game 3, or maybe it was game 4, against the Yankees here at Kauffman Stadium. And, he'll usually flash me a peace sign or a big smile or mess with me or somebody. And he was all business. And so he has this incredible ability of knowing how to turn it on in terms of locking in. He has, if you remember when the Royals almost got in that fight with the Arizona Diamondbacks this year, when they hit Bobby Witt Jr. going for the cycle. And I don't think that was intentional, but the timing of it didn't look good. And that one really, really upset Salvi, and he was ready to go to war at that point. So he has that mean streak in him, but for the most part, what you see in terms of that personality has been what I have seen the moment that I met him when he was, I think, 20 years old as a prospect in the minor leagues, and I interviewed him for the first time. And fans getting a chance to enjoy this career that he has had, 13 years of a career, 14 years really. I think there's the year that he was injured in there. For him to still be here, for him not to just be hanging on, but to be extremely productive, as good as he's been, it's like it just doesn't feel like right now we're watching the end of anything. There's still more left, and so it's been. I believe it's been a privilege and a treat for everyone, whether it be fans, and I can speak for my family or friends that say, "Oh my gosh, so much fun to watch him." To people like me that get to be around him every day from a work standpoint, to teammates, multiple generations of teammates that are now retired, teammates that have recently come into the league, to the front office, to the ushers, to everybody involved. He has this unique ability just to put a smile on people's face and to make people's lives better. I could not think of a more deserving Clemente Award winner, and the first ever for the Royals, than Salvador Perez. I just had this really strong sneaking suspicion that he was going to win it this year, because really he was recognized for all the amazing things he does in Kansas City and in Venezuela. But I think it was that wiffle ball story of him stopping and playing backyard wiffle ball with some kids that you don't win it because of that. But I think that went viral, and that started to let people know outside of Kansas City, man, this guy really is the real deal. Well, we already knew. So to me, that award yesterday, I woke up, I saw that award, couldn't have been more excited for him. So happy. Left him a message. I actually woke up this morning and there was a voice message he left for me back, thanking me at what would have been 6-something a.m. New York time. So he just keeps on going and going. He's incredible.
Absolutely. We're visiting with Joel Goldberg. He is the pregame, postgame, and sideline reporter for the Kansas City Royals. How special was this season for Bobby Witt Jr. and being there to witness it all right there on the sideline, Joel?
I think that's an interesting one, too, because that's one where we're really watching the start of it. I mean, if you're Bobby Witt Jr., you're not sitting there saying, man, I've done all this. He's going home saying, all right, what more can I do now? How can I get better? Because it is a long season. He ended up playing all but I think one game. I think he really wanted to play 162. He got arrested late in the season. And I think, I haven't talked to him about this, I think he understood that it's hard to stay fresh and sharp for 162 games. And the level that he played for as long as he did this year was incredible. I don't know if he hit the wall in the playoffs or not. Again, it's possible that he just got cold at the wrong time. But I will say, to me, what's the most special about this year is that I just think like what we saw in terms of numbers and performance was off the charts. And I feel like he's just scratching the surface. So we have a generational player here. I think we have a George Brett caliber player, not the same skill set, but there are only so many people. Even Salvi, I wouldn't say is at that George Brett, Bobby Witt Jr. level. Salvi told me last January, I think he said, Bobby Witt Jr. will be the best player in Royals history. And I said, even better than George Brett. And he said, I think so. We'll see. That'll play itself out over the next 15 years. And he's got to stay healthy and he's got to be here, which he's obviously going to be here for quite a long time. And we'll see if it's for the length of the contract. I just think that right now, and I think, there are a lot of Royals fans that feel like he should win the MVP. And it became pretty obvious to me, and I think a lot of people, if you're looking at it objectively. Is he worth more to his team than Aaron Judge? Yes, I think you can make that argument. The good old argument of, is it the best player or the one that's the most valuable? But you talk to people around the country and you start looking at some stuff and you say, okay, Judge is going to win the MVP, and so we know that. But he's going to be right there behind him, and to be able to, sit here in Kansas City and say that we have, in all likelihood, the second best player in the American League, in all likelihood, the third best player in baseball. And again, people can argue this, and outside of Kansas City, maybe they would. But I think everybody in the baseball world, even beyond the United States now, knows that Bobby Witt Jr. is the top, say, 5 player in all of Major League Baseball. Let's just say he's number 3 for the moment, behind Judge and Ohtani. And we could argue that he's better than Judge because it's a different skill set. So put Ohtani there, but he's in that discussion with those guys. And we have that kid in Kansas City locked up long term, and he's only 24 years old. So to me, the most exciting part of Bobby Witt Jr. this year, in year 3, was that we really saw the coming out party, and it feels like there's a lot more left.
Absolutely. And, I'm so excited for the future of him and, guys like Cags being brought up. But I want to go to the past for just a second. Back in my days at Blue Valley North High School, I know, your son Mason, that's how we kind of got this set up. But I remember being at a baseball practice. JJ Picola came in. This was still when he was the assistant GN, and he was talking about how Dyson was kind of an unexpected leader in that 2015 team. Was there another version of Dice in this clubhouse who maybe, didn't play every single day, but still was a vocal leader in the clubhouse, especially during the playoffs?
I don't know that they had a Dyson. It's a great question, Matt. I don't know that they had a Dyson per se, and I'll say that in part just saying that he was such a unique sort of skill set and personality and background. I mean, here's a kid that grew up in the projects of Mississippi, was a 50th round draft pick. They don't have 50 rounds anymore, and really found his place. And he was, yes, at minimum, he was the guy that could come in and steal bases or start in center field or right field, or but he kind of was that guy that held people accountable in the clubhouse. And he would do it with a loud, piercing voice and a big sense of humor. And you had to be on your toes because he was going to certainly give you some grief otherwise. So I don't know if they necessarily had that guy, but in different, I guess I would just say in different forms. And so really for me, they had a lot of guys that had been around, maybe did it more quietly, whether it be adding a Yuli Gurriel late, who had just that steadiness to him of a guy that has been in big situations over and over again. The Hunter Renfros of the world, and the guys that have, on the pitching side, Walker, Lugo, just guys that have been there. I think you could certainly make, and JJ, maybe he'll look at this in the offseason. I think you can make an argument that you could use some kind of a bigger voice in there. I mean, this is Salvador Perez's team. He's not a guy that's going to stir the pot, but he will hold guys accountable for sure. He's not afraid to do that. Bobby's going to be more soft-spoken, but is becoming more comfortable being a leader. So it's possible that they could go out there and find another big personality like that. We'll see what they do. But back to the question, I think Dyson was sort of a one of a kind.
One more from me, Joel, before we'll get you out of here. I was just kind of curious, what do you think the Royals need to do here this offseason to better their team to have a deeper postseason run? What's the number one thing they need to do?
They need another bat, probably 2, I think, and they've talked about this, that they need to find a leadoff man. They never really had a leadoff man all year long, and I don't know who would fit that role on the roster. I mean, I suppose the one guy that could do it will be Bobby Witt Jr., but I think that I think they're really comfortable with him batting second, and so you got to be able to get somebody on in front of him, and that was sort of a rotating spot. So they could use a leadoff man there, or I would say they could use one more power bat. I mean, I think that Renfro turned into more of a role player, but can they find a guy that can go bat fifth, get them 25 home runs, probably play in a corner outfield spot? That's what they need to be able to find, because again, after the 2, 3, and 4, you got through Vinny Salvi. There was just a drop off, and could Michael Massey be that guy? maybe. Could Michael Massey be that leadoff guy? Maybe. But, it feels like there are a lot of guys that should be batting maybe 6th or 7th that were forced to bat 1st or 5th throughout the year. MJ Melendez hasn't put those pieces together yet. He could. But I think one thing that we saw from the Royals last offseason that was very telling is that they decided to stop waiting on guys. And so instead of just slotting a guy into a spot and saying it's yours, and I'm talking more pitching now, they went out there and they got proven pieces like Lugo and like Waka. And so now suddenly it became hard for guys like Daniel Lynch to make the team. They're set on pitching. If you figure that Chris Bubich will have a shot at being in the rotation, Lynch may have a shot at being in the rotation. Both guys looked really good in the bullpen. Kyle Wright, who they acquired last offseason, a former 21-game winner just a few years ago, should have his shoulder fully rehabbed, so they rehabbed him all year. So they may have an excess of pitching that could provide an avenue to maybe make a trade for that big bat and that outfield piece. I think they'll be active. I think they'll mess with the bullpen every single year instead of just locking that in and saying, okay, here are our guys. I think they'll tinker with that a lot. But I think a leadoff man, a 5-hitter type, and maybe some bullpen pieces.
Joel Goldberg, once again, pre-post game and silent reporter for the Kansas City Royals. Joel, thank you so much. I tell you, we'll catch up as the season gets closer and closer to spring training.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Once again, great stuff there from Joel Goldberg here on the Morning Blitz. It's always good to have friends in high places.
It is. Absolutely.
Always good to have a good connection there. Anyway, let's get to a break. We'll come back. We'll quickly hit on some news surrounding some local area athletes, and we'll get to the walk-off. That's all coming up here in the final segment of the Morning Blitz.
At FNB Bank, we know family comes first. Whether you're opening a savings account for your kids, buying a new home, or planning for the future, we're here to help every step of the way. With personalized service and flexible options, we make banking easy for your growing family. FNB Bank, serving families, strengthening communities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This Entertainment Insider is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. The hit Netflix series The Diplomat lets audiences peer into the world of the State Department. That's one reason Kerry Russell joined the cast.
I think the State Department in general they're doing their job well when we don't hear about them. It's fun to get to peer a little bit behind the curtain.
Progressive offers a great price and round-the-clock protection when bundling home and auto. It's one of those rare times when you could save money and get something great. Bundle today at Progressive.com.
Point. Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Ace, you're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
You're tuned in to the Morning Blitz.
Great call. Love where your head's at.
With Ross Volkmer.
Thanks again to Joel Goldberg. Good conversation there. If you missed any of it, we'll have it on the podcast for you coming up here after the show. Some interesting news surrounding some local athletes yesterday. Saw the news come down that 24/7 Sports has moved Goodland's own Lincoln Cure to be the #1 tight end in the nation yesterday, which is just absolutely nuts to think about.
Crazy. It's crazy. And Kansas as a whole is doing pretty well in 24/7 with 5 in their top rankings, which is really, really good. I mean, it's more than, a lot of states, which is really impressive. And I've always said, I think Kansas is one of the most underrated sports, especially high school states in the country. And, it keeps being proven, but shout out Lincoln Cure. I mean, that's ridiculous. #1 in the entire country. I mean, just think about how many tight ends, how many schools there are, and he is the best of the best. And he's proven it, at least for my first viewing experience in the Colby game. It's deserving. Definitely deserving.
Yeah, he's the 35th national prospect, and he is the number one tight end, according to 24/7 Sports. Now, what I love to do is go to the composite. So the 24/7 Sports composite is where they take ESPN, 24/7 Sports, and you take the other ones as well. They take all the other ones on 3 and they combine it all together. And when they do that, Lincoln's actually number 2 in the 24/7 Sports composite. But 24/7 Sports loves Lincoln Cure. They have him as a number 1 tight end in the state. There's some other guys. I think there's a great picture from this past Saturday night at the Sunflower Showdown. There was Lincoln Cure sitting next to Guy Tubbs, sitting next to Jackson Rumford. All GWAC guys, all possibly going to go play at Kansas State. It's a great picture. I love that picture, by the way.
All studs, too.
Studs.
I know Rumford. I mean, you've got Rumford and Guy Tubbs at K-State. Oh, come on. Guy, please, if you're listening right now, go to KU. Go to KU. Go to KU. I know, actually, I've had this conversation with him before when we were doing our senior spotlight, trying to convince him to go to KU. They don't need another tight end. They've got enough incredible talent in this area.
That's the games, and they use those tight ends. There's a lot of them, and they use them all. So they get a lot of use. So that's one thing. I don't know. I could see Guy Tubbs being on the defensive side of the ball. I could see that for sure. I could see Rumford on the defensive side of the ball, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Speaking of which, that's a great picture of just great all sports athletes.
Yeah.
Like, and honestly, probably the best of them is Jackson Rumford. Jackson Rumford, I think, in my opinion, is the best athlete in all of Western Kansas. Because was it? I know. Well, in football, he's great. He's a tight end and a great defensive end. He kicks. He's very good at that. He was hitting 60-yarders with the wind at his back in the pregame against Goodland. Not to mention that, but he's an all-state caliber type bat. He's an all-state. I'll mention basketball player. He's a phenomenal basketball player. But in spring sports, it's where it's even better. He's one of the top golfers in all of Western Kansas, and he throws the javelin at a state level competition.
That's ridiculous.
Jackson Rumford, I think, is the best athlete in Western Kansas. He's a dude.
That's crazy. Like, to be 6'6", you'd be like, all right, good football player, good basketball player, maybe even good baseball player. But to kick and play golf, that is a different level of like.
That's why I said Jackson Rumford is a dude.
He's an athlete. He's got the strength. He's got the speed. He's got everything. But then he also has like the touch.
That's the thing. Like, Guy and Lincoln are phenomenal, explosive athletes. Like, they can jump out of the gym, they can run really fast, and they're great. Not to mention great people too. On top of that, but then you have Jackson, who can do all those things, but he's got those really fine motor skills where he, because a swing, and when you're 6'6" with a big old club trying to hit it down, that's really impressive to me. That's why he edges. It's because of his golf game that he edges just a little bit of those guys in Jackson Rumford. But I love that picture from this past Saturday. Yeah. Those 3 guys sitting there watching K-State and KU. Great picture, by the way. All right, we've got to get to the walk-off.
A 3-run walk-off home run. A game-winning walk-off. With a walk-off. His second walk-off hit of the season. In walk-off fashion. That baby's go.
Well, the Nuggets actually won a game last night. They finally got in the win column. It doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. If you're the Denver Nuggets, don't feel bad about that. But I do know there are some Nuggets fans that are out there like, are we going to get a win this year? Don't worry, you'll get her done. Yeah. Also, going to wrap things up here real quickly with the World Series game. Is it over after tonight? Is it done?
I said 5. At the beginning, and I said last night, I think the Yankees will win tonight, and then I think it's over the next game. I think that's it. Also, really quickly before we go, Jeeps, another trade, a little outside.
Yeah, Joshua Uche,
elite speed. Belichick was just talking about how the Gerard Mayo wasn't using him right. He benefits with someone providing pressure. He had 12 sacks with Matthew Judon in 2022 on the other side. So I think with Chris Jones and Karlaftis, he's going to be really good.
That is a great pickup. Also, shout out K-State kicker Chris Tennant, Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week for his 51-yard field goal.
It's already flushed. It's already gone. Already gone. When do the Qs play next?
Also, KU K-State basketball played tonight in their final exhibition games against D2 Kansas schools. KU gets Washburn. K-State gets Fort Hays State.
Shout out Washburn.
I'll have to get a hold of Rusty Groffel from Fort Hays State and have him talk about what he sees in Kansas State this year. We'll have to get to that a little bit later on. For Max, I'm Ross. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow here on the Morning Blitz. See you then.